Okay, I'm recording now, and I'm muting everybody. Okay, so we can get started. I'm just gonna also share my screen. And good, we all see my screen? You can, okay, great. Okay, hold on, I gotta bring back the chat box so I can actually, hold on, see what's, more people are coming in. Okay. Okay, great. So here we go. I know I have things on my screen that are in your way, don't I? Okay. Wait, I have to fix that. And move this up. Okay. So here we go. Or not. Okay. So I'm going to start just with a quick introduction of who I am. Okay. And I'm not putting, I have to deal with my stuff on the top here because I have, I need to be able to see you guys. So I'm Hadassah Levy, for whoever doesn't know me. And I wrote out my nice bio over here, but I'll just tell it to you also. I actually became a digital marketer in 2004, before there was such a thing as digital marketing. And I used to have a long title where I said that I do this, and this, and this, and this, and this. And then eventually I decided that I could just be, you know, a digital marketer. And, but I do basically do content writing and social media marketing and email marketing and content management, a little bit of WordPress development, a little bit of pay-per-click and search engine optimization. And I work with clients all over, but I focus primarily on Jewish content, Israel-related content, fun stuff. And I have a friend who says that I've never said no to speaking. And he's sort of right, because I have presented at Temech and Megacom and Pico and various other places. And I even spoke at a chuppah once, and I don't know if I should admit this, but I also spoke at a funeral once. So I really do love to speak, and I love to share what I know and what all the fun stuff that I do. So you guys can share it with me today. I'm just moving you guys all to the other side so I can actually move that. Okay. So what is content marketing? So basically, this is what the dictionary says. The dictionary says that it's a type of marketing, right, that involves the creation and sharing of online material, right, videos, blogs, social media posts, that does not explicitly promote a brand, but is intended to stimulate interest in its products or services. So what does that mean? And more importantly, what does that mean for your business? What does that mean for what you're doing? So basically, the process goes like this. If we were actually in if we were in a room together, not virtually, then I would do this a little bit more interactively. But as it's a little difficult in this forum, I'm just going to kind of go through the steps with you. So the first thing that you need to do is figure out who's interested in your business or your service, right? And then you have to narrow it down to something that's really a specific target audience. A lot of people, when you say to them, who's interested in your service, they give this long list, or they say, well, everybody wants what I have to offer. Everybody needs it. Now, that's wishful thinking, but it's not actually true. And even when you sort of say, well, if you say, well, it's for women in Israel. Okay, women in Israel is a huge, huge, huge audience, and you can't really be targeted if you're talking to such a large group. So what you need to do is you need to narrow it down. So you might narrow it down to something like religious women with 3 or more children, right? That's a target audience. English-speaking Israeli women who work in high tech, right? Something very, very specific. Now, you could have more than one target audience. You could say, well, there's these types of people, these types of people, and I'm going to produce different types of content for each type. And that's also valid, but you can't just like say, I'm going to market to everybody, because when you market to everybody, you market to nobody. The next thing that you have to do is you have to determine what your target market is interested in. And the best way to do this is really to do a brainstorming session. Take a whiteboard or a piece of paper, or you can do it in a Word document, and write down all the possible ideas of what your target market might be interested in. And a good way to do this also is to get other people involved. Ask your friends, your family, your colleagues, what do you think? And let them give you ideas. And then when you put it all together, then you choose the things that actually seem the most relevant and the things that speak to you the most. And once you have a list of topics that you've chosen, then you can start thinking about what kind of content you can create surrounding these topics. So you can think about blog posts or infographics, videos, social media posts, newsletters, right? All the things that we know about that are part of digital marketing. Once you have these initial ideas, then you're ready to sort of get yourself into the content marketing game. So, like all games, the content marketing game has rules. So I have 5 rules for content marketing. I skipped some of my slides because I was so interested in what I was saying that I skipped my slides, but I'll just show you quickly that I had here, your target, thinking about who's interested in whatever, your target market, okay? And now we can go straight into my first rule. My first rule is trust. The goal of content marketing actually is to build trust with your clients or customers. We know that people buy from brands that they trust. And this is true of all sales. It's especially true of services, because think about it, right? How much do you have to trust somebody to actually hire them for a service where you don't know what you're getting? When you buy a product, you have more of a feel for what you're getting. But when you buy a service, it's very, very important that you trust the people that you're buying from. So how do you build trust? You have to be authentic and you have to provide real value, okay? So the first thing not to do is not to create content that poses as real value and isn't, okay? I'm sure you guys have all experienced this in your lives, or in your online lives at least, right? You see some really interesting title and you click on it and it turns out that it's a really boring post that somebody wrote just for SEO purposes. It has no value whatsoever, right? Clickbait, right? Most annoying thing ever. This does not breed trust. Another thing that people like to do is write how to do whatever, right? And then there's only one way to do it, and it's somebody's product, right? That's not a value to you, that's an advertisement, okay? So that's not the way we want to write content. We want to write content that actually provides something that the readers will want and will find useful and will then be able to implement in their lives. So for instance, right? No, we're gonna share our knowledge, right? Whatever it is that you sell, you have a tremendous amount of knowledge about it, and the key is actually to share that knowledge with your customers. Your customers want to know that you know what you're talking about. So, for example, let's say that I sell dresses. Okay, if I sell dresses, then I want my customers to know that my dresses are comfortable, that they're high quality, that they fit the demographic of the people who I'm trying to sell to, right? So if the style of my dresses is for 20-somethings, then they fit that style, right? Or if they're for middle-aged women, they fit that style. How am I going to show this, right? So here are some examples. I could shoot a video. Let's say that I were the dress designer. I wouldn't be able to design a dress if my life depended on it, but let's say I was a dress designer. So I could shoot a video of myself picking out fabric in a store, right? Shopping for fabric. I could write a post about what to wear for a wedding when you don't know how fancy the wedding is, right? I could share pictures of the best dresses to dance in. Okay, all of these things show that I get the dress business and that I get the people that I'm talking to, right? I know what they want and I know what they're interested in. Because I'm not a dress designer and I'm a marketer, I do write marketing pieces. I don't write them as often as I probably should because I'm busy doing marketing for other people. But I often, do write blog posts about marketing because I want people, or I do things like this, right? Because I want people to know that I know what I'm talking about, right? And when you go to say, okay, I'm gonna build trust with my clients, what you do is you go back to that list of topics that you came up with before, right? Or that you were gonna come up with, and then you ask yourself, do these topics promote trust? And you choose the ones that promote trust. Okay, and those are the things that you're going to talk about. My rule number 2 is to talk about what people are talking about now. Okay. You can't be a content marketer if you're not also a listener. Okay. You can't promote your business if you're not listening to what's going on. Right. So hot topics on social media. Who wants to tell me what a hot topic on social media is now? You have to unmute yourself and tell me, because I'm gonna lose my. Come on, guys, hot topics on social media.
Black Lives Matter.
What? Black Lives Matter. Okay, what else do we got? Ahuva's saying something, but we can't hear because she's muted. You gotta unmute yourself.
Corona.
Corona. Oh my gosh, Corona for sure.
Working out.
Working out.
Pride.
Pride?
Pride. Yep.
Okay. Racism, right, which is a little bit broader maybe than Black Lives Matter.
Summer plans on the chat.
Summer plans, is that what you just said?
Chippy said that on the chat just now.
Ah, so yes, for sure, for sure. School, a lot of discussions about school now. Should kids be in school? Should they not be in school? How long is school going? All sorts of things like that. So what you want to do is when you identify a hot topic, right, is you want to tap into that to create content that's interesting to your audience, right, your target audience. We're not forgetting. You want to create something that's going to resonate with them, right? But also tap into the hot button issues and current events, etc. So one of the things that I saw recently that I thought was really, really interesting was I got an email from the Camp Ramah, the Ramah camping movement, I think they're called officially, and they wrote in there about how they have been talking about racism in their camps and how now they see that they really need to step up what they're doing in their discussions of racism with their campers and their chanichim. And what's so interesting about it is that they really tapped in because their target market, which is conservative Jews, are people who are really interested in social justice. And the whole Black Lives Matter thing is very, very important to them right now. And so they're talking about it, but they're not talking about it in a general way. They're talking about it in a specific way, how it applies to their brand, and also a little bit more generally, how it applies to their readers, who can, then, reflect on how they're teaching their children about racism or how they're talking about racism, etc. I thought that was very, very well done. I mean, talk about what people are talking about now, but with your spin on it, with connected to what you're doing. But just keep in mind that you have to be aware that there are certain topics that are very controversial, and you have to make the decision about whether or not you want to get yourself into controversial topics. And depends a little bit on your personality and whether or not you're willing to do something. Depends on whether or not that's really good for your brand. Something to think about, but it can be something very positive. Okay. Now we're on rule number 3. Rule number 3 is that your content has to be unique. Okay. No one's going to read the same thing more than once. It's actually a really big effort to get anyone to read anything once. Think about how much stuff you just flip by in your feed and your social media, and you just, whatever, I'll read that later. Oh, I don't care about this, right? How often do you actually stop and click on a link and actually read something, or even actually read a short post on Facebook? How often do you do that as opposed to just flipping by it? So you can talk about things that other people have already talked about, but you have to add your own spin. Last year's Super Bowl, this is an old example, but last year's Super Bowl was apparently very boring. A lot of people talked about the fact that it was very boring. And after a while, there's nothing else to say about the fact that it was boring. It was boring, right? But no, you could say something. You could say that it was actually not boring, and the people who are saying it's boring are wrong. Or you could say it was in fact extremely boring, but let me tell you why you should, why people watched it anyway, right? Why did people watch it? There was a reason, right? Okay, that is talking about a topic that everybody's already talking about, but with a fresh perspective. A more contemporary example of something that people are talking about now is I've read a few articles recently that I found to be very interesting. We said Corona was a big topic, right? But how much is there to say about Corona? Like, it's all been said already. But there's a person on my feed who every single day posts how many people have had Corona so far in this country. Gets a little bit repetitive at some point. But I read some articles recently about the relationship between Arabs and the Israeli government during Corona, and the cooperation that's going on between first of all, between Hamas, actually, the Palestinian Authority and Hamas and the Israeli government, which is very interesting, because Hamas, you wouldn't think, would even be willing to cooperate in any way, but they're doing it indirectly. But also between Arab Israelis and the Israeli government. Very, very interesting spin, I thought, on a topic that everyone's talking about. Okay, rule number 4, planning ahead. So one of the main reasons that small businesses fail at content marketing is because they start full steam ahead and then they just kind of run out of steam. And the reason that they do this is because, you know, they're like every day, oh yes, I'm posting on social media today, and I'm writing a blog post this week, and I'm doing this, and then, you know, one day goes by and they're busy and they don't do it, and then the next day goes by and they don't do it, and then eventually they discover that their Facebook hasn't been updated in a year, and their blog is totally dead. How do we prevent this? You prevent this by creating a content calendar. I find that the easiest way to do this is to simply go into Google Spreadsheets and choose a calendar template. They have a calendar template there. It's got boxes for every day. You don't have to think about what day it is. Okay? You can do this month by month. You can even do it a year in advance if you're very ambitious. You start by putting in all the important holidays and events. Okay? You think about when you want to offer a sale or a promotion. You think about which topics are connected to which time of year. And you also think about which days you don't want to be posting on. Because, for instance, you don't want to be posting on Yom HaShoah, let's say, unless you have something specific to say about Yom HaShoah. But you don't want to be posting regular marketing stuff in Israel on Yom HaShoah, right?
Oh my God. Can I just say one thing here?
Yes.
I don't know if you like people to interact, but like, just now I saw on social media on, Yom HaZikaron Chayalim, okay? There was a promotion of send a package to your soldier. And it was like, it said like, oh, your soldier's probably all by himself and lonely, and like, please send him a package. And it was like, so not appropriate for the day, because we're remembering soldiers who are really very much alone because they're no longer alive. And it was just, the wording they had was like completely off. I actually wrote to them about it, and I said like, that you can't do that on Yom HaZikaron. It doesn't make any sense.
Well, maybe they thought it was a good idea at the time. But I was, okay. We're gonna come back to this issue in a minute. You want to fill in the calendar with the actual things you're going to write about, and the best way to do it really is to actually write the posts already inside the calendar, and then all you have to do is copy paste when you want to put it into your social media or into your social media. But for longer content, you're obviously not going to stick it in a calendar. But for longer content, I recommend having a whole bunch of blog posts written ahead of time, because blog posts are effort, right? If you're going to write a blog post, you're not going to write it the day of that needs to be posted, because, you know, you say, oh, I'm going to do it today, and then, you know, you got a long list of other things to do, where your child gets sick or something happens and it doesn't get done. So in order to make sure that these things get done, you have to do them really in advance, have a whole bunch already ready to go, so that you don't have to worry about it. The easiest thing to do, really with scheduling, is to schedule content in advance with a tool like Hootsuite or Buffer or something like that. I really try for my clients, you know, it doesn't always work because sometimes my clients aren't quite in sync with giving me things when I want them, or I'm busy with other clients and I don't get to things exactly when I want to. But in theory, what I try to do is have every month scheduled in advance for every client. And then I don't have to worry about it. However, and this goes back to Orit's point, you do have to pay attention to events that happen unexpectedly. So if you have something in your calendar which is inappropriate, right, then for a specific day, then you have to change it. Unfortunately, one of the things that happens often in Israel is that there's a terror attack, and you cannot have marketing things going on when there's a terror attack. If there's a terror attack, you go in immediately, you pause everything, and you wait until everybody's feeds go back to normal. When you start seeing that people are talking about their usual stuff and not about the terror attack, you can go back. Okay, this applies obviously to any kind of tragedy. It applies, anything that seems inappropriate for some reason. On the other hand, now that I've talked about all this planning ahead, don't get stuck in your content calendar. Okay, you can always add something, delete something, edit something. If you come across something interesting, it's obviously better to post it right now and not wait, right? And if there's a hot topic, right, and you planned your calendar, who knows how long in advance, and now all of a sudden there's this new hot topic. So obviously don't wait until it's stale, okay? Post now while it's interesting. And while, you can jump on the bandwagon of something that everybody's talking about. Okay, rule number 5 is, well, hold on, we have to actually switch slides. Okay, talk about things that interest you. It's really hard to write content about things that you're bored by, right? If you are going to publish content that's going to be passionate and exciting, you have to be passionate and excited about it. Otherwise, it's just going to fall flat. I might think, right, that Esty should post content about a certain thing, but she might think that's the most boring topic in the world. And if she does, then she should not write about it. Okay, I gave that example before about the Super Bowl. I thought it was a fun example, but I'm not going to write about the Super Bowl. I'm not interested in it. I'm not passionate about it. And I don't even really understand it. So it's totally over my head. So this is not a good thing for me to write about. Another example would be that I think that infographics are a great idea. Okay. But I don't actually like infographics. I don't like to look at them and I don't like to create them. So I'm not going to, I'm not going to create content that's infographic based because that's just not what I do. Okay. You write about the things that you love, and your enthusiasm comes through to your audience. 100% does, okay? Wait, somebody's trying to get in. Okay. So how do you choose the content, the correct medium for your content writing? So most of us probably are old enough to remember when blogs were the main content medium that was out there. Now they're really a smaller part of the game, but nonetheless, in today's world, people are not following blogs. They're not going to websites necessarily and looking at the blogs. But if they see something interesting in their social media channels, then they will click on them. And once they've gotten to a website for some other reason, they are likely to click around and to look at the blog. And a blog shows, the personality of the company. It shows its professionalism. It shows the knowledge of the people who are running the company. If it provides value to the clients, right, then they're more likely to think that your company is trustworthy and make a purchase. Let's also not forget the SEO aspect of blogging, the social search engine optimization aspect, because dynamic content, updated content is something that Google and the other search engines really like. In addition to posting on your own business website, don't forget that there are also public blogs like Times of Israel or Medium where anyone can post, right? You can post blogs on LinkedIn also. There are places where you can apply to post. That's a little harder to do, but like Huffington Post or Kvela or something. The advantage of all these types of things is that you have a wider readership and can spread the word further than you can do on your own blog, especially if you're a small business and your blog doesn't have a ton of readership. Another place that you can publish content is in emails. Okay, I know what you're going to say. You're going to say, I don't read emails. I don't read promotional emails. And nobody that I know reads promotional emails. And they all end up in the Gmail promotions tab, and nobody reads them. There's no point in them. All of that is true, except that although many people don't read emails, a lot of people actually do read emails. And there's an average of 15 to 20% of marketing emails that are open. That's a pretty big number, actually. And let's remember that someone who has subscribed to your email has already shown interest in your product. If they're not your target audience, who is, right? These are people who are actually interested in what you're doing, okay? People don't read much in general, and they definitely don't read a lot in an email, right? They're skimming, maybe, right? So emails need to be brief as you can make them. They should include pictures. They can include excerpts, obviously, from longer pieces with like a read more or something like that, that sends people to the blog to read the full blog post. Another really nice trick is to have exclusive information in an email that they can't get anywhere else. It's not on the social media, it's not on the website, so this might be a discount code that's not available to anybody except the subscribers. If you're a nonprofit, you might have certain PR information that's going to donors that isn't being sent to anybody else. Internal news for employees is also something you can do if you have a bigger, you know, for a bigger business where there's something. But you can think creatively about what you can provide that isn't being provided elsewhere, and that's a very good way of making use of your marketing. The power of email marketing is really in the segmentation. One of the first things that I do when I take over a client's email list is to organize the list. Okay, because there's a huge list, let's say, or there's a big list. Sometimes it's not even so big, but it doesn't matter. There's a general list. And once you have that general list, you have to think, okay, now how do I take that general list and how do I take that general list and then segment it into smaller sub-lists, okay, according to specific interests or specific criteria, how they got to you, or have they bought from you or not, or are they this type of client or this type of client, or whatever type of thing that you can do, and then send them different emails sometimes. Sometimes you send the same thing to everybody, but it should not always be that way. Another thing to pay attention to is automation. Automation is really, really amazing, especially for welcoming new subscribers or new customers. One of my clients has, they run a video platform, and every single person that signs up for the newsletter, the first email that they get tells them about the best videos, first thing, and is very, very successful. We see that those are the videos that have always consistently high numbers, because every time someone comes in, we send them there. Platforms for videos, right? What platform do you use? So, you know, you can look, obviously, look at price, you look at, you know, what features it offers. There's just the personal preferences, what you find to be convenient to use. You know, some are more visual, and some are more text-based, and, you know, some are more drag and drop, and, you know, you have to see what you like, what you actually like using. If you are in e-commerce, it's very, very important to be using a platform that can be integrated into your sales platform, because it's amazing the statistics that you can get when you can see every email that you send exactly how it affects sales, what people bought as a result of your email, and that's, you know, how much you can see how much money each email made. It's, first of all, the most satisfying thing in the world to see that. And I mostly don't work with things that are e-commerce. So one time when I was working with e-commerce, I was just like thrilled every time to see it, because it was just, it's such an immediate gratification. And most of the content that I do is like sort of building community slowly, and it doesn't have that immediate feel. I personally like MailChimp. It's easy to use. It's free at the beginning until you get to about 2,000 subscribers, I think. That's, you know, what I enjoy using, but really anything that works for you is fine. So now we get to social media, right? We're all spending a lot of time on social media. So obviously social media is a great place to be publishing content and getting people's attention. The key to successful social media is to tell a story, even in a few sentences. And the less promotional that you are, the better, okay? Any way that you can be subtly promotional instead of directly promotional, the better. It's important to have active social media accounts, but you don't want to overdo it. You don't want to overdo it, first of all, because if you overpost, then the platform starts showing your content to fewer people, okay? It doesn't get to people. And it just takes up way too much time, right? You can't possibly get everywhere. You can't be everywhere. You really want to look at the most relevant audiences to your target market, and then test the ones that you choose and see if they actually get engagement, if they're actually the right people to be, the right places to be. Unless you're a really big brand, I would say that 3 platforms are definitely enough. Think about the age and the interests of your audiences, right? Where are they? If they're young, they might be hanging out on Snapchat, and if they're older, they're hanging out on Facebook, right? So definitely keep that in mind. It's very, very important. Okay. It's really tempting to be everywhere and to say to yourself, you know what? Everyone's on Facebook. I should be on Facebook, right? Every company in our industry has a blog. I should be blogging, okay? But really, don't just make decisions that way. Put some actual thought and research into it. We talked at the beginning here. Now we're just kind of tying everything back to what we talked about at the beginning, where we talked about having a target market. When you nail down your target market, when you know exactly who you're targeting, then you can figure out where to talk to them. Where are they? Where are they hanging out, right? You identify this audience, so now where is this audience? Where are they reading things? Are they reading blogs? Are they on social media? Which social media are they on? Are they email users, right? If they're 14, they're probably not email users. Okay, if they're 60, they probably are, as an example, right? And then once you've figured out where they are, right, based on those answers, you can figure out where to publish your content in order to reach your customers or clients. Okay, and then once you've decided where you are, then we're going back to what we said at the beginning with our rules. We're going to build trust. We're going to talk about what people are talking about. We're going to give our own spin on things that people have already talked about. We are going to make sure everything's unique, right? We're going to plan ahead so that it doesn't die on us, okay? And we are going to talk about things that interest us and that we're passionate and excited about. Okay, so I have finished my section, my part here. I think that if wait a minute, if I get rid of this and come back to the Zoom, how do I if I stop sharing my screen a second, I go back to you guys. Okay. Anybody have a question? We have things in the chat that I didn't see. Okay. Fine, but they're okay. Okay. If you want to unmute yourself and ask something, or chat and ask something, we have a few minutes until our Zoom's going to die on us, unless it doesn't. But I think it's going to. Ooh, silence.
It was so clear and it was super professional.
It was so clear. There was nothing to ask.
This is my first content marketing workshop ever, and wow! I mean, now I know what it's about. Thank you.
Thank you. Now you know what content marketing is. Well, there you go.
You were great. You were great.
Thank you.
You covered a lot. It was very clear. The PowerPoint was very good. You also, based things on research and your field, so it was very good.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad. Usually I get to do this, like I said, a little bit more interactively. So it's a little bit kind of like, trying to see how this would work, online, as we're all moving into online world. And you think, hey, I'm already an online person, so this should be easy for me. But yeah, it's a little bit different to do it. Usually I've got like a whiteboard and like a whole thing going on. So this is a little bit different, but it's a lot of fun. I had fun doing this, and I'm glad you guys all enjoyed. I did record it, and hopefully the recording will download properly, and I'll be able to share it. And
do you want to tell us what exactly you do for your clients? Like if your services would
Sure. I mean, I did start at the beginning with that, but if you missed the first minute, maybe you missed that. But so I do content writing, I do social media management, email marketing, content management, a little bit of WordPress development and advertising, pay-per-click advertising, a little bit of search engine optimization. Basically, when I first started out, and I started in 2004, so when I first started out, all these pieces that I just sort of said were all like separate things. They were like separate professions, but they all became very, very much intertwined. You can't write content without knowing about SEO, really. You can't do social media without understanding blogging. It's all connected stuff. So that's why I decided at a certain point in my career that I'm a digital marketer, and that sort of includes everything. I actually have a Facebook group called Ask an Israeli Digital Marketer, where people ask questions and whoever wants to answers. It's not like IWEN or Ima Kadima, where like every 2 seconds someone's posting, but when people post, they generally get answers. Anybody can contact me also. I didn't actually put my email on this thing, but I can put it in the chat here. You can contact me to ask me questions. You can contact me for, I don't know, anything. To tell me how much you love the workshop. I'll accept those emails as well. But there's my email address. And okay, we're finishing up here because it's really about to hang up on us. Thank you everybody for coming. This is really, really great.
Thank you.
And I don't know when I'm doing another one, but hopefully when I do another one, you guys will all join me as well. I'll have to come up with a different topic. I have many.
Thank you very much.
I've actually done this as like a whole huge workshop of like 4 hours at a time, 4 times in Nefesh B'Nefesh. I mean, I have a lot to say about this topic. So, so I can always do another one if there is demand. Okay, thank you everybody. Good night.
Thank you. It was very
Good
interesting.
night.
Thank you.